Welcome to our next podcast. Today we are joined with Sharon Fredrickson and Joe Karam.
However you want.
Okay. Today we're joined by them, and they're going to be in the upcoming film On the Brain, which comes out, I believe it's July 12th is the release date. So we're going to be talking with them today. And if you could both, whoever wants to go first, Sharon, if you'd like to go first, just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe how you got started in acting, just so our fans can learn a little more about you.
Yeah, sure. My name's Sharon Fredrickson. I live in Southern California, the Hermosa Beach area. I've been acting now for a grand total of 3 years. I was in corporate America for quite some time, and then decided that I'd had enough of that, and it was time to follow my dreams. So, quit my job, moved down to LA, and have been acting ever since. I'm in the writing lab program at Groundlings, which is an improv sketch comedy group. And I do comedy, I do obviously some horror, and I do writing as well. I just wrote a pilot that had starring Damon Dash.
Really?
I didn't know who that was either, but some big hip-hop dude.
There you go. I've heard the name before. I can't say that I know much about it, but I have heard the name. All right.
That's a little bit about me.
All right. Joe, if you'd like to go.
Sure. On a very high level, my story is an American immigration story. As of last month, I've been on the green card status for about 5 years, which makes me eligible for citizenship. At long last, it's been about 11 years since I set foot on American soil, and I basically came here to do my studies after growing up in Paris, France. And I was originally from Lebanon, so I was born in Lebanon, then moved to France, where I grew up, and then studied in California, stuck around Silicon Valley in the corporate world as well. And I think for similar reasons as Sharon, decided that it wasn't for me, and I wanted to explore, the other half of the brain, and I just, took the plunge, and I started in San Francisco, and then moved down here about 2 years ago to Los Angeles.
Awesome.
Nice.
Well,
you guys are both following and living the dream. That's awesome, actually.
yeah, that is great. All right, Stefan, I believe you was going to ask the next question.
Yeah, I actually got to say I'm also a fan of Lebanese food. I have a couple friends, so big fan. Basically, it's for both of you, and maybe Joe, if you wanted to go first. Are you guys yourselves personally fans of horror? And if so, if you didn't mind sharing some of your favorite TV shows, movies, and what it is about horror that you like in general.
Sure. I mean, I'm going to be perfectly honest. I am actually not a diehard fan of horror. I'm not, I don't like being scared necessarily. But I will say that once in a while, there's a couple of films that have just really, impacted me in the horror genre. And one of them was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And interestingly, what I loved about it was that it wasn't about the gore. It wasn't even about the psychological torment of it. But it was, but it wasn't because of the killer himself, but rather because it was just the idea that the whole village was in on it, which was really just deeply disturbing. That anywhere you would go, when you would go for hoping to find havens of safety or help, you would actually end up finding quite the opposite, and that these places do exist. That's the other thing too that I've heard.
They were based on some true stories and facts and stuff. So,
that's right. Yeah.
Sharon, basically the same question, or?
I like horror movies. I don't like being scared. I had an older brother that terrorized me when I was younger, and he loved nothing more than scaring the absolute living shapoopy out of me. And so I always had a hard time. Haunted houses, I just can't. I can't. Now, horror movies, though, I do like doing that because I know I'm safe in my own home, and my brother lives 2 states away. My favorite movies are the ones where I feel like could happen,
I agree.
like Misery,
Oh, that's a good one.
right?
Oh yeah.
It scared the living daylights out of you. The other one is The Shining, because that's the stuff that could actually happen. Now, I grew up, of course, with the Freddy Krueger movies and Jason and all of those. And how can you not get enough of those?
Oh yeah.
So they were always so much fun. So as long as I'm watching it and I can know it's a television show or a movie, I'm good with that. But don't put me in any live shit, or I'm not.
Yeah, that's kind of like me. I like a lot of the more like reality style horror.
Exactly.
So like where it's not paranormal or supernatural or anything like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Or things like that are out of your control. Like I love The Exorcist because personally I believe that there could be demons, angels, and that's so out of your control.
Right.
That is scary as hell to me. So
Right.
to be honest, and going back to Joe, my two favorite movies of all time is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Exorcist, and they're timeless. And it just being, and that's what I loved about this movie, because my other favorite types of movie are, again, those that you're completely out of control, and in this like a disease where you don't know where it originated from, you don't know how to deal with it, you don't know what's going on. Those are my favorites. So I think that's what's one of the things that interests me the most about On the Brain.
Right.
Here's one question that I have for you guys as horror aficionados. What would you say is sort of what is the draw to horror when you speak to horror fans? What is it that really what's the draw? Because I mean, to me, it's just like you think about childhood and how vivid your imagination is in the first place. Do you really want to have to revisit some of those primal fears, or amplify them if you're still quite young
But
yourself?
it's such a fun adrenaline rush. I mean, it's
Yes.
kind of a fun, when you're sitting on the couch and you're like getting ready to jump out of your skin. It's a fun adrenaline. And
So maybe
when
it's
you're yelling at the TV, don't open that door for the love of Christ.
Exactly. But it's funny is you both basically answered the question. I think bringing people back up to their childhood in a sense, but also that adrenaline rush. Both of those, for me personally, are two of the reasons.
So-
just yeah.
I'm
Okay.
wondering if it has something to do with, is it the same distinction as people who love roller coaster rides and those who hate them? Is it that adrenaline rush? And
I
for
agree.
some
I
people
think
it's
so.
something that is attractive, and to others it's something that they want to.
Right. I've heard other people compare it to that. Now I will say I hate roller coasters. I don't like heights. That's one of my fears. I don't like them. So, but for me, horror movies, it's kind of hard to explain. Like I said, I like the more like the reality-based horror movies. Like for example, the original Halloween movie. I know from that one they went on to more of a supernatural kind of deal where he gets killed at the end of every movie and always comes back. But the first movie, he could have just been a real person.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing in the first movie that made him out to be supernatural or anything. And it's just that the way they did with just the little small things, like when he sits up in the background or when he comes out of the darkness, just that creepiness that just catches you off guard. I just love that feeling. And I'm one of the people that gets really involved with movies, so the whole time I'm putting myself in that situation, thinking, what would I do?
What would I do?
If this ever happened to me, what would I do that I might could survive where this person got killed? So I put myself into the movies heavily. So I think I get that from reading so much because I just get so involved with the characters.
Kind of puts a mirror in front of your eyes.
Let's not forget about the educational aspect too. It's more. Some of these were a PSA. In the 80s, all the horror movies, don't do drugs, because it was always the stoner kids that were getting killed. And my God, don't ever have sex
Exactly.
at a camp when it's just the counselors.
Yep.
Amen.
Yep. Because if you do that and you're Kevin Bacon, an arrow is coming through your throat.
Cautionary tale.
Every time, 9 times out of 10.
Right, be a top, don't be a bottom.
Right. Yeah. Those
like
are classics. I love those kills.
I can see the public service announcement right now.
That's right.
The more you know.
That's who we need on TV. We need Jason Voorhees.
Give it public service announcements, definitely.
I can see that on PBS right now.
If you want to avoid a machete, then don't have premarital sex.
I tell you what, that will scare enough people straight right there.
But yeah, that's my draw into the horror movies, and not to mention the fact that I was for the longest time I really got into filmmaking. I still am obsessed with filmmaking and the whole process of it. I've shot a couple of short films, things like that. I've wrote so many movie scripts. It's ridiculous the amount of notebooks I've got sitting full of movie scripts. But I love watching them too, because I like to go. The special effects part of it's really my big thing. So I love to watch how they do something, and then I like to go to my little workshop and recreate it. So
Cool.
that's a lot of fun for me too.
And actually, following up on that, from what I read, Kevin Stevenson had kind of started as a cameraman for the most part, it seemed like, and has progressed on to directing and things like that. So it seems like he would be very well-rounded and understand the full scope of what it takes to make a movie, which I think would benefit everybody as well as the movie itself. So.
Well, I have to say, Kevin, I think, in my opinion, did a fantastic job with this movie. You know, obviously as an indie film, it's, you know, you have almost no budget to speak of. And the shots that he captured and the message that he was able to do and the way that his vision really turned up on screen, he just did a fabulous job. He really did a good job.
I picked up on that just from that one scene in the trailer, which jumped out at me. I watched it 3 times. The part where I believe it was Zeke's head came right through the window in slow motion.
Right.
I was like, wow.
Amazing.
I mean,
It is.
yeah,
He
no,
definitely
that
has a cinematographer's touch. I remember, I mean, I was only on set for a couple of days, but I remember watching him set up some of the shots and having that perfectionistic, you know, eye for detail, the smallest little thing, really getting it right. And I think what really what I thought was fantastic about the film was the mood that he managed to create. And you can get a little bit of that sense in the trailer, but you get it even more when you're immersed in this world that he created. And you know, it's I mean, you think we were there. You know, it's an everyday place, a little bit remote, sure, but it's not what it looks like in the film, which is this very haunting place, and it just has this atmosphere that's not pure horror, but it's more of a hybrid between Western thriller horror, and horror is perhaps the least of these 3, if anything. Which is I thought when I saw it, it was sorry, I thought.
yeah, like a psychological touch to it, which I liked.
Yeah.
Sure.
And it was fun as an actor to work with him because he was very good at knowing his actors' strengths and when to just kind of let them go, and then also where there were maybe some opportunities and he was able to pull out a better performance, I thought, personally. And so he did a really good job on this.
Shows the mark of a good director, to be honest with you, and a good
Yep.
leader, you know. Nice.
And Sharon is fantastic. I mean, when you watch the film, you'll enjoy the mayor very much.
That's what he was saying, and actually I cannot wait to watch your character, you know, in the scope of the whole movie. I really am being dead serious. Heard you're a bad mamma jamma, and it's not a good idea. Not a good idea to mess up in your diner, is what my sources have said. I'll just leave it
Well,
at
Like I said, let's keep that rumor going.
that. Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Is it? Would you guys mind just kind of giving us the basic premise of the movie, just to touch on the brain?
Sure. It's about a misunderstood mayor who
Hey, put that.
it is about a small town whose men, for unknown reasons, start becoming even bigger jerks than normal and attacking the women in the town. And it's the sheriff and his love interest, the doctor in town, going around trying to uncover what is changing the town folk.
That'd be Miss Floozy. No, I'm sorry. I had to throw that in there somehow.
She's not here to defend herself.
I know. I'll try and catch up for that time, but yeah. So one thing I had read, so it does affect just the men, which is another unique twist on this movie. Is that correct, or?
Well, it affects the women, but indirectly.
Oh, correct. Exactly. Well put, actually.
Initially, that is correct, but as you know, things always change.
Okay.
Right.
Right, nice. I like that. Give us a little bit of something to look forward to. Nice.
So, since you told us a little bit about what the movie was about, now let's figure out what your characters are like. Can y'all tell us a little bit about each one of your characters?
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, sure. My character wasn't. I was not the first victim, but I was, I think, the victim that you would least expect to be to have. How can I put this? You would never expect that person to have that kind of change of behavior, unless something was up, unless something, who knows, unless something external was affecting me somehow, and that was gave a very strong hint that something was amiss to the sheriff and the doctor.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and basically my scene was with Sharon at the diner. I don't know how much I can tell about the scene without giving too much away, right?
Yeah, we don't want Kevin mad at us, so definitely
I heard
don't
you
give
screwed up though.
too much away.
I'll just say.
My character, I played the mayor, and she is the mayor of Golden Torch, and I don't think it was so much an elected position as more of a hand-me-down position in the sense that her great-grandfather founded the town. And so everything stays within that town. And she will do anything she needs to do in order to protect her town.
I could see that. I thought you were going to say it was like a hostile takeover and you took over the seat and...
The mayor doesn't have to hostily take over anything. She just owns it.
She owns it and is very protective of it. That's just
I love it. Very cool.
All right, and she actually just messaged me. She does want to join the call right now. She's sorry she missed us.
Cool. Yeah, I just asked Kev if he could ask her to call back, so hopefully that's...
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, hey.
Hello.
Welcome aboard. We were afraid we weren't going to be able to get to talk to you.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm at the Los Angeles Convention Center right now, working for E3. So I've been super busy today.
I'm sure. Well, we're actually in the podcast right now, so we just got started talking about characters. If you'd like to, we're going to step back just a little bit and just let you introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm Ashley Devane, and I play Courtney in On the Brain. Just pretty simple. I'm a little floozy teenager in the town who's a little rambunctious and likes to get into trouble and smoke cigarettes.
That's what Stefan's probably going to comment on that. We were just talking about that.
I saw that on the screenshot that Kev sent me, and it took me back. I hadn't seen the word floozy. I was telling these guys since my grandmother called my first girlfriend a floozy when she left a hickey on my neck when I was a teenager. So I'm like,
but you're not the floozy? Come on now. Listen, you received that hickey.
That's true. It was a great hickey. That's why she noticed it. But it apparently. Well, actually, I'll let you speak on your role in the movie instead of me doing it. But it sounded like you were the first victim, possibly.
Yes, I guess I was like the first big victim. Yeah, in the town, the first girl.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about right now. We're letting y'all explain your characters a little bit, so feel free, tell us all you can, without spoiling too much.
So we're kind of dancing around.
Well, I mean, I kind of gave a good summary of Courtney. I feel like she's a teenager in the town, and she's clearly like really rebellious and very independent, and I think she feels like she can be on her own, and she's an adult, and that's why she smokes cigarettes, and so I feel like she's always looking for trouble, even though I think she wants to get into trouble so she can take control of it and just try to assert herself and feel like she's the boss and everything. But I feel like she puts herself in really bad situations, hence her trying to flirt, or well, I guess I won't give it away too much, but her putting herself in a situation where she is attacked.
All right.
Sounds like
So
some of my
it sounds like her character didn't see the public service announcement we were talking about before you got here. We were talking about having Jason Voorhees do a public service announcement about smoking and drugs and premarital sex.
Oh yeah, no, that's everything that Courtney embodies, and I think she loves it. She loves to be like, I'm, the teenager in town. I'm the smoker. That's why she smokes outside of the convenience store for everyone in the town to drive up and see her. And everyone knows her and stuff like that. So
And look
I think
how
it's
that worked
like
out.
a credit. What'd you say?
What was that?
I said, and look how that worked out for her.
Exactly. Hey, I didn't say it was the good decisions. I just said they were her decisions.
Can't argue with the mayor. Actually, I was wondering. I asked Joe and Sharon. Are you yourself a horror fan?
Oh yeah, I'm huge. I love horror stuff, and I actually love horror video games too. So that's another thing. I watch a lot of horror movies, and I play a lot of horror games. So
Nice.
they're both really great.
Gonna kind of
And my
ask also.
roommate and I. What?
No, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say, my roommate and I, because we've lived together for about 4 years now, we have an annual October. The month of October is all horror movies, every day, all day. It's like back to back, and we have certain ones we always watch every year, like on Halloween specifically and stuff like that. Yeah, and he's a big fan of Scream. I'm a big Halloween fan, so we sit and we'll watch all the Screams, we'll watch all the Halloweens.
Well, obviously you're right. So
That's fantastic.
Halloween is better. So.
I do the exact same thing. That is fantastic. Would you mind also just kind of following up on that? Would you mind just sharing some of your favorite movies and shows, and also what it is specifically about horror that it draws you to it? That you like about it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Halloween series, and I'm also a huge fan of sci-fi horror, like aliens coming and attacking, and Alien maybe is my favorite series ever. So I know that's way more sci-fi, but I feel like there's horror aspects to it as well. So I would say Halloween and Alien I would go with, and I can't even place it. I don't know. It's the adrenaline. I think part of it is because I've been into video games too. Maybe it's the adrenaline, the rush, and I think part of it is I like putting myself in those situations too. What would I do in that situation?
Yeah.
And especially with Saw movies. Saw movies are a great series to think what would I do in this fucked up situation? They get in your head instead of a love story where it's all right, whatever. It may make you cry. Comedy makes you laugh, but it's light and airy and it's done with right away. I feel like horror movies, more times than not, you leave the theater and you're like, oh, I feel uncomfortable in my skin. Oh God, I saw so much fucked up shit. Ugh.
You're looking around corners as you go into your car and stuff.
Exactly. I feel like there's more of a lingering effect from horror than any other genre.
God, yes.
So horror.
I'm older than all of you, and I remember watching Jaws, and we didn't go to the bathroom without being scared for a long time. Now it's just going to the bathroom.
I'm not going to kid. This probably makes me look like a puss, but I would lay in bed in the fetal position because of that scene when he came up onto the boat. I was scared to death that a shark was going to bite off the end of my bed.
Yeah.
Oh my
God.
I love the fact that we're talking about Jaws, and I'm going deep sea fishing next week. So.
Well, I mean, we're prepping you. We're mentally prepping you. Again,
there we go.
He's prepping you for really fucked up situations you might be put in. You don't know.
Last year I caught an 8-foot shark. That's about as big a shark as I care to catch. So.
Wow. Yeah, I might catch you after.
Oh man, yeah. I feel like Pet Sematary was a movie that I saw when I was a kid. That afterwards, my Achilles heel was always tingling because of that scene with what's his name, Judd. Mm-hmm. He gets his Achilles heel sliced by the little boy after he's reanimated, and that scene always stuck with me when I was little. I was like, oh my God,
that still brings out cold chills on my arm every time I watch that scene.
I had the same feeling when I was watching the very first. I had a very Christian religious upbringing, very strict. So I had to wait for my parents to go out on a date night to kind of watch some of the movies I liked, when I was 10 years old or whatever. And so the very first Nightmare on Elm Street, that scene when she's sitting in class and she looks over and sees her friend in the body bag. I freaked out. The lights were off. I jumped up, turned off the TV, and just sat there still in the dark for like 5 minutes, not knowing what to do. Until I had the courage again to turn the TV back on.
Well, when I was a kid, my mom was watching The Birds on television, and she let me watch the very beginning, and that was it, and said, okay, now you got to go to bed. And I went to bed, but then I snuck downstairs and poked my head around the corner and saw the woman that had her eye pecked out, laying there, and I screamed bloody murder, ran up those stairs as fast as I could, and hid under my bed.
Like, why do we do this to ourselves, but we love it anyway.
For me, the movies haven't got me as much as like horror video games. Horror video games get into my mind a little more than the movies do, but I never will forget, I was playing Resident Evil 2, and there's one scene where you go into an interrogation room and you've got the mirror, and it's in the side where you can't see through it. You walk all around the room, spend minutes in there, nothing happens. You finally, when you walk out to leave and you come back by, there's a creature jumps through the window right at you. And I never will forget, it's when that happened, I literally threw the controller against the wall and it broke into like 4 pieces. So that's one of my most memorable moments as far as anything horror.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I stream on Twitch a lot of video games, and a big thing I do is horror games, and playing Outlast and Alien Isolation, I have been there where I'm like just running around, and there's a lot of jump scares in those 2 games, and I scream out loud and like jump back, and it's just funny because I'm like live right on the website, so it's like all these people watch me just like screaming.
Outlast is interesting game. That one where you can't really fight anything, all you can do is hide. It's really creepy.
All it is a hide and run. That's all you do, and it is so scary because you're just like, you run, and you like look behind you, and they're just like slowly following you. You're just like, oh no, can he still? And then you like go and hide it somewhere, and you're just like, okay, did he see me? Did he see me? And he comes in the room and just walks right at you and like pulls you out from where you are. And it's like, oh,
yeah. Oh yeah. All right, and let's go ahead. Let's get back to actually On the Brain. Stefan, I believe you had a question about the filming.
Yeah, what I read is that you guys had to fit 10 locations into a 13-day shoot, and I guess I was just kind of wondering what that must have been like, because that's quite a bit, to be honest with you.
Well, I think one of the only reasons that we were able to do that, the 2 reasons that was able to happen, it was the amazing crew that we had. That, I mean, they were tight, could pick up and move the set basically, or move the cameras and everything over there. So the crew was amazing. And the other reason we were able to do that is San Jacinto was the people there were incredible. They were absolutely.
They were really excited for us to use their space, like the entire town. They wanted us to film everywhere. I felt like they're like, yeah. You want to use this space? Yeah, come on over. Use this. Come over here.
Yeah, and very helpful. They would say that, we'd say this is what we're looking for, and they would go, oh well, I think my friend's farm, you could use their land, and so they'd get on the phone and make a phone call, and yep, it's all set up, you're good to go. I mean, they were just incredible there.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Get that kind of support.
Dynamic in downtown LA, where you have to apply for permits every time. People are sick and tired of people shooting at their location all the time. It's a completely different attitude, if only because of how much they're exposed to that, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask, since, like I said, I was involved with filmmaking, so I know how things come up. Did y'all have any memorable mishaps or anything like that during filming? Or did everything go smoothly?
Oh, one thing I remember that was kind of funny was we stayed at this little motel, and they obviously, we all had towels, right? And then we're covered in fake blood by the end of the night, and we get back to our rooms, and we're all like showering, and we of course use the towels, and they're pink because of all the fake blood we had all over us. And they weren't, apparently it didn't wash out very well, but the wife of who owned the motel came up the next day and was like, yeah, we're gonna have to charge you for all of these towels because we don't even own these towels. We rent them from another company so they're not even our towels. And it was like, what hotel rents towels?
What kind of a company rents out towels to place like hotels?
Exactly. That was the other thing. I'm like, there's towel rentals?
I hope they don't rent out the sheets too. Jeez.
Oh,
Oh, God.
I'm a complete germ freak, and we didn't
Yeah.
stay in a hotel. We stayed in a motel.
The motel, it wasn't.
And there's a big difference. And I did bring my own sheets.
That sounds like something
Yeah,
I
there
could
was a few
bring my own
people.
pillows.
There was a few people across from us who definitely were like living in the motel. They weren't like overnighters because they would like hang out during the day and like watch us while we were like running back and forth between like the trailers and our rooms and stuff like that. Like they're like, oh wow, lots of stuff's happening here now.
I don't remember the last time I stayed in a place where you opened the door and you were on the street. You know, I would be perfectly honest with you. I don't remember the last time I stayed at a hotel that didn't have a concierge. So this was a big change. But it really made it neat because at the end of the day, this long day of shooting, we would all go sit out on this little, not really even a porch thing, but you know, we'd all sit out there and maybe have a couple drinks and so that environment really fed well into making a good team of us all, and I think we were much, you know, a lot of us walked away with new friends after all of that, and I thought that was a neat opportunity.
I really like working on something that's a little bit more of a smaller budget because of the fact that it does. I feel when I do a lot of TV stuff, and when I'm on a lot of TV sets, it's almost like high school to me, where everything is super segregated and everyone has their little clique. It's like the camera guys are the camera dudes, the makeup women are you know, and it's like all separated. But when we were on set shooting this, it was like we all had to band together, and it just reminded me of doing theater and how like everyone's building the stages, everyone's helping the costumes, everyone's helping set up the lights. Like we're all in this together because it is a group project, and I think a lot of the industry becomes a business and they lose that art aspect where it's like this is a group project, not like I don't know. There's a level of art and job, and I think a lot of the industry turns into it just being a job. So I really loved how much of a community we had as a crew.
I also noticed that, I mean, that also started with the production side of things. I spoke with Brandon Trask, the writer, producer, I think, and I remember he was telling me how he got, I mean, they all poured their heart into this project for a couple of years before they even started looking for cast members. You know, he was telling me how it took him an entire year just to find the props, you know, which is something that we take for granted when we work with a team where there's a dedicated prop master, and, you know, and I think I don't know, was that made into a cartoon or was it just a very elaborate storyboard? But it was just very impressive, like all the.
Yeah, I was looking on the website for the movie, and they do. I like the comic book. They've got a comic book on there. That was a pretty cool addition.
So it was clearly a labor of love all around, and that was really great to see. Yeah.
I think Brendan. I think he really just wanted to honor his mother because this was originally a short story that she wrote back in the 70s. So I think by the time he started putting everything into production, he really wanted to honor her story and make it perfect, you know, and make sure he was like, I'm going to put years into this so that when it's done, I know it's something that like I'm proud that like if my mom could see it, she'd be proud of it.
I thought I had read that maybe pre-production or something started in 2014, possibly. Does that sound right?
That very well could be, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was
It surprised me.
a couple years in the making. So
Yeah.
It always amazes me. There's so many people that watch movies and everything that don't realize how much goes into a movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I said, I've shot a couple just little short films, and I've been a part of like the casting and stuff on a feature film, and it is insane the amount of stuff that you have to put into getting the movie made. Most people just think you go grab a camera and start filming and you got a movie.
Yeah. Okay, action,
Oh, yeah.
action and cut. There's a lot more to it than that.
Right. Okay, that's a wrap.
Exactly. Yeah.
Every time I hear people ask how long, you know, did it take for you to work on your film, and it doesn't matter how long it is, if it's a 20 minutes short or if it's a full feature, I seem to notice that a lot of the times it's not uncommon for it to take over 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from beginning to conception all the way to
Okay.
screening. Yeah.
I've been working on one of my scripts for 7, 8 years, and
Oh
I
yeah,
still hope to one day get it made, but we'll see.
5 at the minimum.
So we shall see about that. That was bad timing on my part. We cast the movie, but could never coordinate anything because it was hugely low budget. So one day I hope to have it made. We shall see how that goes. But Stefan, you wanted to also we were going to cover the special effects.
Yeah, I kind of heard that the makeup artist was named Danica Rodriguez did a phenomenal job, and yeah, I'd even heard that it. I'm sorry.
I said she was amazing.
That's what I've read, and that some of the makeup effects actually could rival, Walking Dead and give it a run for its money, and that's says a lot. That's amazing.
Yeah, and it was just her and an assistant, and she was doing all of us. Like,
Yeah.
and her assistant, Zanita, she's not even like a makeup person. She's kind of like she does interviews and like journalism and stuff. I'm not sure. I think she was actually she did like marketing for the film, I feel like, or something. But she offered to help and do the makeup and stuff too. So it was like kind of funny because it's like, she was like, okay, so how should I do this? How should I do that? And it was just like, Danica was doing 2 people at once, essentially.
That's incredible, because I think I just assumed that it was Danica and maybe a team. I had no idea it was her and an assistant.
No, it was just her
That's
and one other girl.
I'll tell you what, how Danica hasn't been swooped in and picked up and brought into multiple projects is absolutely beyond me.
Well,
She's
honestly,
not only amazing at what she does, but she's just so awesome to work with. I mean, she's very friendly, she's very personable. She really cares about her craft, but then cares about the person that, that's sitting in her chair as well.
You're not just a work of art. You're also a
Right.
person.
I don't know how she hasn't been
not just a zombie.
No, right.
No, that's awesome. Actually, I'm actually going to make it a point to get her name out there as best I can over Twitter.
Yeah.
I have a few, indie film and other stuff following me, and just to get her some of that love for the job that she did on this movie, she is more than deserving. So, absolutely. So, that's wonderful.
Oh yeah, and one thing I say, because we're running on about 40 minutes, so it's going to be a 2-part. We're of course doing interviews later with a couple other cast members, so I'm going to try to wrap it up pretty quick. But I was just going to ask, I guess we'll start with you, Sharon. Is there anything currently you're working on or anything like that in the future?
Well, I am working on a few things. Like I said, I just filmed the pilot. Or I wrote the pilot. It was filmed and it's in editing right now. And then I've got, we're just now starting a new website, YouTube channel, and it's on Facebook. You can go to Facebook. It's Dysfunctional Dames. And it is comedy sketches that we're going to be filming and writing. So that type of thing. And I'm at Groundlings and taking classes. I'm in the writing lab area at Groundlings, and so that's really helping with those comedy sketches.
Did you say that was dysfunctionaldames.com?
Dysfunctional Dames. I don't have the website's not up yet, but it is on Facebook under Dysfunctional Dames.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'll definitely look that up. And
Did you have anything going on, Joe?
Yeah, sure. As always, trying to keep busy with a couple of different things. Some things that will be announced shortly. Others, this summer, I'm working on I think it's a web series that's actually supposedly taking place in Silicon Valley. It's a story of people coming from Silicon Valley to Los Angeles, and I got brought on board by actually a friend of mine that I met up there in San Francisco. And then also got to meet. We just did the table read last week, and I got to meet a former co-star of mine from another web series. So it's one of those. It's one of those delightful moments where you realize that Los Angeles is actually a smaller place than you think it is. When you run into people that you've worked with before, and that's a very good, comforting feeling, I have to say. And it's also much more fun the second time around when you're working not just with a business connection, so to speak, but somebody who is now a friend. And it just feels a lot warmer to have that kind of work environment. It's a lot more relaxed. It's a lot more, you know each other better. You know how to get the best out of each other. So it's
that goes a long
looking
way.
forward to that. Very much.
Having
looking
that,
forward.
having that comfort level goes a long way in a good finished product.
Yep.
Yeah,
And-
and when you feel comfortable, I think you're able to like push yourself to new. So I feel like with acting, there's a lot of vulnerability in it, and it's hard sometimes if you feel uncomfortable in certain situations and you want to push yourself to a certain point in your character. It's like if someone's around you that's like creating a bad headspace, it's not.
No, that's an excellent point, Ashley. It really is.
All right. And do you have anything coming up, Ashley?
Ray Donovan. I'm actually playing Ray Donovan's little sister on the Showtime series with Lee Schreiber and all of that fun
Awesome.
stuff. That starts in June,
Mhm.
which is pretty cool. But I finished up back in like February with that, and we did some like really cool stunts, which was awesome to do. And lurking with Lee Schreiber is insane because he's just an intense. I mean, it's great, but he's just like this intense actor, and I'm so used to comedy. Like that's usually my go-to is comedy and stuff. I'm comfortable being like slapstick and stuff, everything. And so going from that to being on Ray Donovan, where it's just this heavy drama, everything is deep and low, and so and like he's so intense.
Yeah, I haven't got into that yet. I've watched the first episode, but I'm wanting to binge watch everything that it's got now because I get so behind on TV shows. But I love the first episode of it, so I can't wait to see all the rest of them.
I feel like it's kind of a newer Sopranos. Not in any way the same as Sopranos. So Sopranos is its own thing, but I feel like they're trying to get in the same vein of the mobster family mentality.
All right. Well, of course, we're going to link all of y'all on the description of the video, and we'll be talking about this on Twitter and everything. We really appreciate y'all being with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Oh yeah,
My pleasure.
And
Awesome.
if y'all could hang out just a second after we say our goodbyes, I would really appreciate it. So yeah, thank y'all.
All right.
And for
Thank
all
you.
the horror movie freaks watching, we are going to go ahead and sign off now. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.